Welcome to The Station, a podcast by the Arkansas Business Engine. I am Ty King, and I'm here with one of my cohorts. This is Whitney Hickerson.
Hello.
She says hello. And we are joined today by real estate extraordinaire Sara Lynn with Irealty. Sara, how are you?
I'm great. What an awesome introduction.
I know, right? Could have thought of like several other things, like you're stepping into the wrestling ring, you know what I mean? Just to make it hyped up.
Oh, I don't know if I don't want to be associated with a battle.
I'd be like the master of realty and dad jokes. How about that?
Yeah. That's it. That's exactly what it is.
So tell us a little bit about what it is that you do and where you're at right now.
So I am a realtor, and I have been with Irealty for pretty close to a year now, and I'm very excited to be there. I love a company that is locally owned here in Central Arkansas. That's what really drew me to Irealty and what I love about them. So I have had my real estate license since 2012, so 8 years this past August. And when I originally got my real estate license, I was a high school teacher. And about 2.5 years ago, I decided I was done teaching and I wanted to pursue real estate full time. And so I took a leap of faith and said I'm going to do it, and have been so excited and happy ever since, meeting and exceeding my own expectations and goals.
Awesome.
And it's really fun to me because I get to be involved in the community. I mean, that's how I've met you, Ty, was being involved in the Chamber of Commerce.
Sure.
So the fact that I get to be more involved in my community and I have the energy to do things and volunteer, plus help people find a dream home, life can't be any better.
Yeah, right. So making people happy and making relationships, and so everybody wins, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what makes you want to move away from teaching? I might be a sensitive subject, right? Makes you want to move away from teaching and to selling homes?
So the reason I got my real estate license was I had moved here and bought a house. And in the process of buying a house, I had what I believe was a terrible realtor.
Okay.
And I was like, if she can do this, I can do this. And so I was like, I'm going to go to real estate school. Yeah. So I went to real estate school, and I think it was a year before I actually did my first deal. And my first deal was probably my most difficult deal. The sellers were in bankruptcy, even though they didn't tell me they were in bankruptcy. Or foreclosure. I'm sorry, foreclosure. And the buyer had a bankruptcy recently. So it was madness, and nobody was telling the truth, but everything was found out through title work everything. So
sure.
It's probably the worst, not worst deal, but most difficult deal I've ever had. And I was like, yeah, this job's a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. There's a lot more to this than what the buyer sees or what the seller sees. There's a lot of background work or behind the scenes work that people really don't see. But it's still a lot of fun, like on closing day when they get the keys and when they sign when they're done signing all the paperwork, or when they've sold a house and they turn those keys over. Most of the time, people are super excited, and to see that excitement in people is really exciting. I don't know that I even answered your question.
No, you did. Why you switched over, and it was sort of you saw a need that could be filled. You thought that you were the right person for that. And I'm sure a lot of the skills that you had as a teacher kind of cross over with being a realtor too, being able to, manage stress and to have a good temperament, which you always do.
I really feel like realtors are like part educator, part therapist. When we bought our house in 2017, we had an issue where the sale of our other house fell through 2 days before closing, and we were supposed to be closing on our new house. And I'm sure my realtor was like, "What is this crazy woman doing?" Because I had a complete emotional breakdown. I was crying, and it all worked out. We ended up closing on our house that we were buying, and we were able to hang on to. That sale still fell through, but we ended up selling it down the line. But we still closed on our house, and that was the big thing, because I was like, where am I going to live? I'm going to be homeless.
That's true. I think real estate agents wear a lot of hats, kind of like teachers wear a lot of hats. But counseling is definitely, or therapist is one of those things that we definitely do. Also, problem solving.
Yeah.
I swear a lot of real estate is just problem solving, because the buyer will want something, the seller will want something. Okay, how can we make everyone happy? Because
look, it's
usually...
mediation. You should be a mediator.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
kind of what I do.
Let's figure
pretty
out.
much.
Yeah, like we've
You're
got
the middle person, yeah.
here and here. Like we're here. Let's see how we can get here.
Get in the middle, yeah, which is what a lot of it is.
Yeah.
And it's really just talking to people and presenting things in a way that they hear it, and then say, okay, well, what do you need out of this, and figuring out an outside of the box way to make that happen and
Sure.
get the buyer and the seller happy, because truly everybody is wanting the same goal. The seller wants the house sold, the buyer wants the house bought. So that's why I said I didn't want to be equated to the boxing ring, because it's not. A lot of times I think people think of real estate as a battle, as a fight,
right.
and it's really not. It's it's a friendly negotiation towards the same goal. Everyone's a victor.
Yes.
For sure. So is it a good idea to, like, if I want to look at a house, do I just drive up there, then call you and be like, hey, I want to look at this house, which happened earlier today, right?
Yes. So earlier, yeah, exactly. Earlier today, somebody called me and said, I'm in the driveway. Can we look at this house? No, we can't do that.
It's not how it works.
Yeah.
Later.
Not quite. Yeah, that's not really the best system. Truly, I would love to, if you're interested in buying a house, I would love to sit down with somebody and talk about what your goals are, what your time frame is, what do you want in a house, what are your non-negotiables. Like some people want a fireplace. Like, we have to have a fireplace. But not everybody needs that. But I need to know what your non-negotiables are. And that way we can find the houses that fit your needs so that you can look at those.
I think that's one thing that I learned while buying a house. We bought a couple now, and you got to have your list of must-haves, your non-negotiables. Like, these are the things we have to have, and these are the things we want. And so you need to find a house that meets all of your must-haves and see how many of your wants you can fit in there, but you're not always going to get every single one of those. Unless you just have a huge budget and maybe you're just going to build one. I don't know. But like most of the time, you don't get everything you want. You have your must-haves. These are the things I got to have. And these are the things that, let's see what we can find that we can fit in. But, if I don't get every one of these, I can still find a house that's like perfect for me.
Correct. Yeah. And you mentioned budget. One other thing you want to do is definitely meet with a mortgage lender early on in the process. You don't want to go look at 45 houses and then meet with a mortgage lender and realize, oh, I could have been looking at much nicer houses or much more expensive houses, or I actually need to reel my budget in, to maybe $175,000 when you've fallen in love with a $200,000 house. So it's really important to meet with a mortgage lender and figure out your price range before you go house hunting. I had a lady on the phone yesterday, and she said her and her husband were pre-approved for $290,000, and I said, "Wow, does that mean you want to spend $290,000?" And she laughed and she said, "No."
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to pressure her into buying, a $300,000 house when she wants to buy a $200,000 house.
Exactly.
So it's just knowing what you're comfortable with is really important before you start house hunting.
For sure.
Absolutely. So where you're at now, because I know since we've known each other, you used to be with another realty company. We don't have to name names or anything like that, but what made you want to switch over to Irealty? I know you're usually in the Shorewood area, right? But you serve throughout Central Arkansas.
Correct. Yes. So realtors have their licenses hanging at an office. So my license hangs in the Sherwood Irealty office. But I do work, I'll work all the way up to Cabot or Searcy. I'll work as far south as Benton and Bryant. Once things start getting into Hot Springs, sometimes I start to turn it over because Hot Springs is where the market kind of starts to change. Happy to come out to Valonia, Conway area, and even Scott and England. So pretty big Central Arkansas area that I'm happy to cover and I'm familiar with. But I have worked for 3 different real estate companies, and I've definitely learned something at all of them, but I think what drew me most specifically to Irealty was, and there's 2 things about Irealty. 1, the pay, how much of my commission I get to keep.
Sure.
And 2 is the culture. And the culture is very positive and very supportive. And I think that's really important in in anyone's career, no matter what you do, when you surround yourself with people who are positive and supportive, you're going to do better. It's like they say, people who feel appreciated do more than is expected. And I really am. I'm self-employed. I work for myself. I essentially contract with Irealty. But, you know, I want Irealty to succeed, and Irealty wants me to succeed. So the fact that we have the same mission and we have the same goal is what makes it such a great company. So the culture and the pay are the two reasons I'm there. As a matter of fact, we just completed a book study with the office yesterday called The Energy Bus, which talks about it's a great book. It's about having a positive mindset. Oh, wow. So I thought it was really interesting.
Alexa's trying to give you.
Alexa's trying to order it.
Alexa, stay out of this conversation.
Alexa, I already own it.
She's trying to buy you some stuff. Not yet. We already did it. Well, that's awesome. I think with Irealty, they also have like a fun atmosphere. That's what I get from it, from the logo. And then I've been to a few events, and I think that's kind of the atmosphere that they go for, is like kind of relaxed, you know, professional but relaxed, and meeting people on their level. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Everyone
absolutely.
wants to have a good time and be comfortable.
Yes.
Like happy. They want. That's kind of what I've gotten from, you know, what I know about Irealty is just they want their customers to be happy. They want their realtors to be happy. You know, and that is professionalism, but it's also that comfort and that kind of like which is kind of what we try to do here. Like, we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna get good work done, but we want to enjoy doing it.
Yeah, it's definitely approachable is probably a great word to say
absolutely.
it. That it's not stuffy, it's not off-putting, it's not, you know, we want to carry a business casual atmosphere around ourselves so that people feel comfortable talking to us, and, you know, we know our stuff, even if it is a business casual attitude that we carry, we know what we're doing.
Which is great to have that, you know, approachability, because a lot of times, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, the home buying process can be really intimidating from or a first-time seller. If you've bought one house and now you've got to sell it, you know a little bit because you bought one before, but you haven't sold one before, and so it can be just, the whole process can be really intimidating. And so I think it's important to have, you know, a realtor that you feel comfortable with, and you can ask questions and even if you think it's a dumb question, just to be able to, like, what's that mean? What is this term? Because there's a lot of terminology. It's like a vocabulary lesson every time you get a new piece of paper. You know, and I think it's important to have someone that you feel comfortable. You're working with a realtor, if they feel kind of more stuffy, or you feel like, you know, kind of more, you know, you can't really ask them, but if you feel comfortable, say, hey, what does this mean? And to someone that's going to sit down and educate you on what you're signing and what the process is without making you feel dumb, and you just feel really comfortable having those important conversations.
Exactly. Yes. And that's something that one of you mentioned earlier. I was going to say this, that patience, like, I really refined my ability to be patient when I was a school teacher. And that's something that I've carried over to real estate. And not that it's needed as much, but it definitely comes in handy. And I'm happy to explain stuff, and I'm happy to explain it over and over again. And it amazes me every time. Almost every buyer and probably almost every seller at some point says, this may be a dumb question, but... And it's not always the same question, but it's one of those things that I've carried from teaching too, is, well, there are no dumb questions. And if you don't know the answer, and this is probably your biggest purchase of a lifetime, or your largest sale of a lifetime, like, you want to know and you want to be comfortable. So if you've got to be comfortable asking what you perceive as a dumb question, there really are no dumb questions.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I want to dig into, how do you set yourself apart with so many real estate agents, right? And serving in the same kind of area. How do you set yourself apart? I know that like in social media, like a lot of your realtors will brand themselves. Like you said, you're ultimately you are franchised out through you own your own business, but you're franchised out through Irealty. And so, like, most realtors will put like Sara Lynn Irealty, you know, so for like your Facebook page and, you know, Twitter accounts or whatever it is that you may have. And so, how do you set yourself apart from other agents?
So a couple things. It's really important to me to build relationships. I don't want to look at this as a one-time sale. We work for 30 or 45 days to find you the house or sell your house, and then our relationship's over. I mean, I want to build a relationship and know you for the rest of your life. We may not spend as much time together when you're not actively searching for a house,
Right.
but definitely it's important to build relationships and know what's important to you.
Sure.
Also, I want to have a good time doing it. That's what's so important to me. I don't want you to feel frazzled. I don't want you to feel rushed. I want you to, it's stressful in and of itself. So I do want to bring some levity to the situation. I want you to make sure that you're laughing and having a good time, because that's what's important to me. That's what I value in my life, is laughter and enjoyment and fun. Don't get me wrong, there's stressful times, but I want it to be fun. And when you mentioned the dad joke extraordinaire earlier, that was something that I started doing when COVID hit. It was really difficult to get on social media and be like, hey, you want to see this house? Hey, you want to sell your house? Because it seemed very self-serving, and it was, but it was magnified because of COVID. And the phone stopped ringing, and I was like, I still have a business to run. I've worked really hard when I took this leap of faith to quit teaching to build this business. And what do? And it occurred to me after watching like the teddy bear hunt, and do you remember those?
I don't
know what that is.
There's like, you put like teddy bears in the windows and you like drive around and they your kids and they go like look for teddy bears.
The bear hunts.
Yes.
Yeah. So there were all these creative things happening on social media, like the bear hunts, and then they were like musicians were coming on and playing music for free. And I saw a PE teacher and an art teacher giving like sports lessons and drawing lessons for free. And I was like, how can I stay relevant? How can I stay relevant? And I was like, oh, my laugh is my signature.
Sure.
So I was like, and I love dad jokes. Legit, I crack myself up when I tell these jokes. Like, I just love dad jokes. And so I was like, I'll just tell a dad joke. Like, we all need to laugh a little more because we're all stressed out.
Sure.
We're all anxious. We have no idea what's going to happen. And so I told a joke a day for maybe 2 months.
Right.
And it got to the point where I was like, this is probably getting old. People probably don't like this. And then it was like, I kind of got back out in the world again. And people were like, oh my goodness. My hairdresser was like, I show your jokes to my son every day. He's like 2 years old. I'm like, oh, well, that's great family bonding time.
There you go, yeah.
And and a couple other people are like, oh gosh, I listen to your jokes every day. They crack me up. Now, they never like it on Facebook, so I never know they're actually listening to them. But I couldn't believe how many people were like, oh, keep doing it, keep doing it. So I'm not as faithful with everyday jokes, but it's really fun to post occasionally. And it's fun too, because there's probably half a dozen people who send me jokes. And so I'll randomly get a text message and pull it up and then bust out laughing because it's a joke. Yeah. And people around me will be like, what's so funny? I'm like, oh no, somebody just sent me a joke.
Oh, wow.
And I tend to record. I'll also record several at a time, and then I'll go back and edit them to post them. And when I go back to edit them and post them,
crack yourself up
trade
again?
secrets. I crack myself up again. Yeah. Like most recently, my favorite every time I crack up is, what did the vegetables say to each other at the dance party?
What?
Let us turn up the beats.
Oh my God. Awful. So like I said, your laugh and your personality are your brand, and so like Sara Lynn doesn't turn off just because she clocks out. You know what I mean? You are who you are, and so people remember that. And there's lots of things to remember. I guess lots of instances to remember you by anytime anybody interacts with you. So I remember when we first met, like you're laughing and smiling all the time, and like you haven't changed since then. I haven't seen you in a bad mood. I know you probably have bad mood days sometimes, but I haven't seen it yet. And so that's been awesome. One thing that really impacted me with the way you brand yourself that really struck out to me is right before, it was about maybe February or March when we had a leads group meeting at the North Little Rock Chamber. And before we started, you handed out these cards that had your contact information and everything on it, but also it had 2 Purell like a hand sanitizer packets attached to it. And then like it wasn't like a day or two after that when everything got shut down, and I was like, man, that was right on time. Because when I got it, I was like, okay, well, this is weird. You know what
am
I
I going to do with this? And you're like, my precious.
Yeah, I know. All of a sudden, that value just jumped to the sky because everybody's buying up.
It's all about time in the market, right?
It is.
Right?
It is.
I must say that was a lucky coincidence, though, because those cards were originally flu season cards, I think.
Wow.
So it was about spreading referrals and not spreading germs.
Yes, that's what it was, yeah.
Nice.
And so
I like that.
it was because of flu season. And it's so funny you mentioned that, because as I was walking in the door, I was like, oh, I forgot my I was going to give you a gift today. It's a little bag of goldfish, and if you know anybody fishing for the right house, just send it my way. So just clever
dad jokes.
Catch you. Yeah. Anything that's goofy or corny is.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I love
me.
a good pun. I really do.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. I'm with you. And I don't know, I might be getting too personal here, but
No, you're good.
I was very shy for the first 25 years of my life.
Sure.
And it was really, like, people thought I was rude because I wouldn't talk. But it wasn't that I wouldn't talk. I was too scared to talk.
Oh, man.
I was
Yeah.
so afraid people
Me
were going to
too.
judge me. And then for some reason, I have no idea what finally clicked in me. And I was like, I'm standing over here worried all about myself. I'm not worried about those other people. And I'm like, they're doing the same thing I'm doing. They're standing over there worried about themselves.
Yes.
They're not criticizing, judging me. They're too busy in their own head.
Right.
And I was like, forget it. I'm going to make myself laugh. I don't care if you laugh at me or not. Now, people usually do laugh at me, but it's so much more fun, like being engaged and being goofy and being corny than it is to be in the corner, quiet, not talking to anybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
So...
No, I can relate to that. You know, I've had jobs where people are like, you know, either like, well, this girl doesn't like me, and, you know, I've been here for months and she's barely said anything, and I was like, I just have anxiety. Or someone new comes in the office, and within like 2 weeks they're like best friends with everyone, and I was like, you know these people better than me, and I've been working here for 2 years. Like, what's going on? But honestly, it wasn't until I started my own business, I left, you know, the employee world and became a business owner. And then you've got to network, you've got to go to leads group, you've got to be more outgoing. And I learned the power of networking, and I learned that it's not about me. It's not about who I am and being nervous and having anxiety. It's like getting to know people and finding out who they are and finding out about them and how, you know, I can serve them. And that was like a big change. And last week I had the opportunity to speak. I'm a graduate from the public relations program here at UCA, and I had the opportunity to speak on a panel to a class of current students there. And one of the things I told them was, you know, if I had known when I was 22 and 21, getting ready to graduate and looking for those first jobs right out of college, about networking and not just being in my own anxiety all the time, I would have gotten further in my career in the span of time than I have now. Like now, it's like I'm at the position where I can grow through leaps and bounds because I've kind of unlocked that ability and just to be able just to approach people and be approachable, not just be in my shell, making people think I don't like them, but it's just because I'm, you know, too stuck in my head.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people have anxiety, and I think that helps too me with the corniness and it lets other people be able to let their guard down so that they're more comfortable in situations too, so that everybody can talk.
Sure.
And isn't anxious or isn't standoffish, which makes life in general more fun. Now, don't get me wrong, I know my business and I know my stuff and I know real estate, but I can do it having fun.
Sure.
I don't have to be stuffy and uncomfortable in order to get my knowledge spread. So, yeah, and it's amazing how many people do struggle with some social anxiety. I mean, self-included.
Oh yeah, same here. I dropped out of college because of social anxiety. It was like being around all these people I did not know. Yeah, it was just too much. I just didn't even go. And so, yeah.
So I was like, nope.
Long story there, but yeah, we've come a long way since then. So now we're talking to everybody, right? And so that's made a career out of that, just going around and talking to people.
Yeah, absolutely. I love hearing people's stories, and I love hearing, about like how I became a realtor because I had a terrible experience with a realtor. I don't want anybody to ever have that. And so it makes me very passionate, but I want to hear why people do what they do. And so, talking to people and having the courage to talk to people makes it so much more fun and exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you always lived in Arkansas, or are you a transplant, or you moved here? Or?
I am totally a transplant. So my dad is retired Air Force.
Okay.
I was born in Florida.
All right.
Moved to Ohio, New York, Mississippi, Louisiana.
You've been all over.
Graduated high school. Went to Texas for a year and a half.
Okay.
And then Florida State. So I graduated from Florida State. So I went back to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up back in Louisiana after I graduated college. And then when I got married, I moved to Rogers, and then Joplin, and then Little Rock.
Wow.
And then got divorced. And when I got divorced, I was like, well, I should go back home to my parents. But I really love it here. Like, I had made really good friends here. I really enjoyed my teaching job at the time. I was really happy with my real estate career was starting to take off. And I was like, I'm just going to stay put. So much so that now my mom and I were house shopping last weekend. So hopefully my parents are moving here instead of me moving back home.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
great.
So I really do love this area. There's so much to do, and people are so friendly. And the weather is, I spent a lot of my life in northern Louisiana where it's hot and muggy. And it's hot and muggy here, but there's so much time with nice weather here.
Yeah.
Does she know Steve?
Who is Steve?
Steve Rice, the landing pad?
Not yet.
You need to talk to Steve about the landing pad podcast.
I was just thinking about that. I'll make the introductions for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he does a podcast about, I just recorded an episode that will air sometime in the next few weeks, but he does a podcast that's about people who are like transplants to Arkansas who are now, thriving and growing businesses here, and just a little bit about like what your journey to Arkansas and kind of what brought you here, what keeps you here, and that kind of stuff. And it was I had a really great conversation with him about it, because I'm originally from Texas, and I came in in junior high as a teenager, but I had a very strong Texas girl identity. Very strong. Like, how do you know if someone's from Texas? Don't worry, they'll tell you. I've already told you on this podcast.
It's on the coffee mugs, I think.
I've got a couple of coffee mugs in the break room about it.
That's so funny. I went to college for a year and a half in Texas, and like I was only there for a year and a half. But the year and a half I was there, I was like, Texas is its own country.
It is
like not even part of the United States. Like
right.
It is Texas, baby.
It is Texas. It is a very strong identity there. But I've kind of come to I'm here, and I basically, as I told him, I see myself like this is home now. Arkansas is home now. For a long time, I tried to leave twice during college, and I kept coming back. But this is home now, and there's really just something about it. Not only is it a beautiful place to live, but there's something, and I worked in a newspaper too, and this is something that I kind of has been a trend, but there's something about the people here. There's just something, and if you look at all the accomplishments that have come out of Arkansas, and compared to like the size of our state, population-wise, there's a lot of really cool things that come out of here.
Absolutely. Yeah, people here are genuine and caring, and you don't have to be an Arkansas native to be embraced in that genuine, caring feeling, which I think some places if you're not native, you almost feel like an outsider, but that is not the case here.
And it's contagious. You kind of like I pick it up and all that. And that's one thing that I've noticed too in the business community. I don't know that I would find the kind of welcoming embrace as a small business owner, kind of just embarking on my own, that in other places as I have here.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that 100%. That's a good description of Central Arkansas.
For sure. And so you've settled in. You're in Central Arkansas, serving Central Arkansas. Parents might be moving into here. So where do you see yourself, I guess, going into the future? How big do you want to grow this? I mean, you are your own business, and so like the limits are just set however you want. Sky's the limit, right?
Right.
So where do you see Sara Lynn going in, let's say, the next 5, 10, 20 years, whatever you want to do? What's the end game here? What's the ultimate goal?
Oh, wow. So Man, what a tough question.
Yeah, right?
I know, I should have these goals written down. That's what every book says, including the energy bus. So I don't see myself giving up real estate. I really enjoy real estate. I own 2 rental properties myself now, and I would like to have a third in the next year or so, but I also feel like I don't want to. Let me rephrase that. I feel like I want to be my own property manager also. So I don't really want more than 5 or so rentals, but I really enjoy being in the real estate market.
Wow.
So I do see myself continuing to be a realtor, have some of my own realtors, but continue to be involved in the community, which is so important to me. I'm actively involved in the Arkansas Arts Center, which is undergoing a remodel right now. And as are most museums, really struggling with COVID because it's hard to find things to do art-based when you can't go to the museum.
It's not virtual, yeah.
Yeah. So, but to be involved in the community, I really appreciate things that happen with the Arkansas Arts Center. I really enjoy working with the North Little Rock Chamber. I've also started working with the Sherwood Chamber, so growing there and being involved in the community in different ways that I can find out. Oh, as a matter of fact, I know you said in 5 years. Like, it's hard for me to answer in 5 years because I'll just do whatever's interesting. Last night I went to a women's gun club.
Okay.
To like learn about. There was a representative from Glock, and he like showed us some different guns and shot a couple different Glock guns. So there's like we talked about earlier. There's so much to do here.
Yeah.
So I just want to continue to be involved in those things in the community that are available.
Have you noticed it's always women that we have on the podcast that talk about guns?
It is. You're right. Yeah, that's absolutely a trend that we have going on.
Bernice was in here. She was talking. We were talking about. She worked for the Game and Fish some about guns and gun safety, and I think that's kind of a funny trend. The guys, I haven't heard one man on this podcast mention guns.
Huh.
That's right. Interesting. She was teaching us the proper way to hold a gun, a pistol. You don't hold it sideways like this. That's movie stuff.
Yeah, I think your aim is better whenever you
hold
it right out.
So don't break your wrist when you try to fire a shot if you actually have to. That's pretty amazing. So being part of it, I guess, what is the value that you've seen in being part of the community as far as, I mean, obviously there's relationships that you build and it grows you as a business, it grows them, but like being part of different chambers of commerce and different I guess groups and going to these little meets, because you go to a lot of, not just like the random ones like women with guns meeting, but you also go to like just several meetings where you're like, hey, you should go, I'm going to be here, so if anybody wants, you're invited to come see me out there. You're like, I'm not really sure what the event's about, but I'm gonna have a tent set up, you know what I mean, where everybody can come see me.
Oh yeah, like the Women's Expo.
Yes, that's what it was.
Women's Expo not too long ago. So I think the benefit is that I think, how do I want to phrase this? I think we all at different parts in our lives, and not, sometimes you need a plumber, or sometimes you need a mediator, or sometimes you need a lawyer. But I think being involved in the community and talking to people and knowing people, and just you get to uncover their needs. But the positive of that is you also get to tell them who's good out there. And you can say, oh gosh, I've got a great plumber. Yeah. Let me give you my plumber's name. Or, oh my goodness, I know a great mediator now. Like, let me send you to my mediator. And I think somebody was looking for an attorney the other day. And so I was like, oh, well, why don't you check out this person? They're really good. Yeah. So to help, even though it may not be like something very painful if you need a plumber, I mean, well, it depends on the plumbing problem, but maybe you just have a leaky faucet. It's not terribly painful, but to be able to help people with that in the community is really awesome. Mm-hmm. To be there and just randomly help them with a need is really fulfilling. But also, like with the North Little Rock Chamber, they have a program called the ALPS program, and it works with 11th grade students to teach them, civic duty and social responsibility, and also gets them involved in the community. And I did that last year. This year, because of COVID, it's kind of been very different. But I did it last year, and it's super rewarding to have these kids interact with people that are in the community. And it's super rewarding to me to then see, which I've seen 3 of them at work in North Little Rock. Like, I'll just be walking and I'll be like, oh, hey, how you doing? You know, and so it's great to make those connections and see a smiling face and know that, you know, they're out there serving our community also, and they're, you know, they want to stay in our community, and here I am to support you and help you, and how can I continue to help you with that? Another thing I'm involved in is a speakers bureau with AARP. And we go do presentations on brain health or Social Security or all sorts of different things. And it's really, it's for, you don't have to be a member of AARP, but it's that age group that is tends to be isolated. So it's a lot of fun to get out with people and engage with people and talk to people and create settings where they can be social and they can engage. Even if lately it's been on Zoom and Facebook Live a lot, but we're still out there and we're still active and we're still engaging. So
that's awesome. What do you think you get your spirit of entrepreneurship from? I mean, we talked about a little bit about like what made you just get away from like school and start your own business. But maybe you told us why, but where do you think you get that from? What gave you just like the confidence to step out and I'm going to do this on my own? I'm going to be my own business owner.
Well,
is that a thinker?
That was, I don't know.
Curveball.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people, I don't always tell people. I tell my parents I got the best of both of them. Like I got the best parts of my dad and I got the best parts of my mom.
Yeah.
But my dad was in the Air Force and my mom was a teacher. So it really, but they supported me and encouraged me and really told me I could do anything I wanted to do. And I just think that I was ready. I don't, other than my parents, I don't know where to say that because 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I sold life insurance. Oh, wow. And like, I was a failure. Like failure.
It's okay to say that word, yeah.
At that, and I was, and so, but I mean, reflecting on it, I think I was young, and my sphere wasn't grown, and I was still introverted, and I couldn't talk to people. And life insurance is really hard to sell. So props to people who sell life insurance. But I just think I was ready. I was ready to be me. I was ready to do things on my terms. And so I think a lot of it, while it came from my parents, probably came from the friends in my life and having that positive energy that's coming back to me, then saying, you can do this, we support you, how can we help you? You know, that's a great question. I'll have to think about that some more. Well, because I would tell you, 25-year-old me would never tell you that I would be this person.
Well, it kind of sounds like you know, like a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, even when they start, if you didn't come out of a school that taught you how to do this, you know what I mean? Like when people enter adulthood and they become business owners, is because they see something they want and they're like, all right, no matter what my background is, no matter if I have, you know, people anxiety or whatever, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go after it full force. And it seems like you kind of did that. And now you're at this spot, and you're like, how did I get here?
Yeah. But it was also like I really wanted the freedom, the scheduling freedom, too. Because teaching school, I was working really long hours. And even if I wanted to travel, like I went to Branson 2 weekends ago, and we left on Thursday and came back on Saturday. I could have never done that if I was teaching.
Right.
So it was part of me was mentally ready, and part of my heart was like, I desire the flexibility because I want to see the world.
Sure.
And it was just the energy from all the life lessons I have learned melded, and I took the leap.
Yeah, there you go. To the leap of faith.
That's what. Well, I was gonna say I took the leap. I almost said walk the plank because I told somebody.
It's kind of the same thing.
It feels like that. You're just like, here goes nothing. I'm just gonna jump off the cliff and hope there's a parachute somewhere that's gonna catch me. Yeah.
I told that to somebody once about walking the plank, and I'm like, it's so nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
When you're on that plank, and then you take a couple steps, and then you take a couple more steps. But usually, when you step off of it, like you end up in water that's like knee deep, and you're like, why was I so scared?
Yeah.
Oh, is this it?
Yeah, like there's nothing to it. So I don't know that I feel that way about entrepreneurship, but I mean, it was
It's definitely that way. Yeah, it's definitely that.
It's definitely walking blind. I don't know about just knee deep. Some days you feel like you're in the shark infested water. But some days you're, sitting on the beach with a drink in your hand. It's just, someday when it works, but it's hard to be, there's nothing, if you've got a bad day, if you've got, stuff going on, there's no, there's no fallback. There's no, hey, I've got a life crisis happening. I'm going to be out of the office this week and you're still going to get a paycheck because you've got sick leave and, there's things are going to get taken care of because there's other people it's you. And so, when you have a life crisis, you're just like, well, either things aren't getting done or I'm just going to have both of these things happening at once. It's a lot and it's on you.
Yeah, that's true. It is. Yeah, there's never really a break because
right.
you are 24/7.
Yeah.
And people are always tugging at you.
Do you find one thing we've talked about before on the podcast with other business owners is setting boundaries? And I think you said you didn't have kids, so I think some of us as parents it can be important to set boundaries on your time. But even you've got relationships and family and things like that. Do you find that you've got to really focus on, okay, I'm going to set a boundary. I don't have to be checking my email and responding to texts till 10 o'clock at night every night, because sometimes I have to just consciously be like, okay, I need to put this down. I need to focus on my family right now. And it can be hard sometimes to strike that balance because as a business owner, it's just constant. You could be checking and sending emails and doing work until 11 o'clock every night or beyond.
Just pass out and wake up, do it all over again.
Yeah, I would definitely say I probably feel like just at being a full-time realtor for 2.5 years, I probably just came into that boundary setting at probably at about 2 years, because the first year, and I probably have some friends that would tell you I was done with Sarah because she wouldn't do anything. She was always canceling. And I would, starting out, cancel with my friends if somebody was like, oh, we want to see a house. Oh, okay, what time can I meet you there? And so it's really hard to turn business away when you really are hungry at that point.
Sure.
But when you've gotten to be a little bit more established, I have discovered that setting boundaries is a little bit easier. Yoga is something that I enjoy. And so I go to yoga on Tuesday nights. And that if someone says, hey, Tuesday night, can you show us this house? I'm sorry, I already have plans. Can we do Wednesday night? Let's find an alternative. And usually I have discovered, I was afraid of this in the beginning, but I have discovered if you tell people I already have an obligation or I already have something going on, most people are respectful of that. And most people will say, oh, okay, well, let's find another time that works for both of us. But it's definitely been a struggle to set boundaries and to say that, I'm going to make this time for myself. But I've discovered how important it is for me to make that time for myself.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sarah, it's been awesome talking to you, and glad that you came on the podcast and talked to us about everything that's going on with you and how you got here. And it's exciting. It's exciting to see where you're going to go from here.
Thanks. I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm glad to have met you. I'm glad that you're in this room right now.
Awesome.
If you are an audio listener, you can find us on video and see these faces on our YouTube channel at the Arkansas Business Engine. And if you are watching the video, you can absolutely find us on any of the podcast streaming services that are out there, from Podbean to Spotify to Amazon. Whitney's just nodding her head. There's 50,000 of them. And so we have links to all of those in the show notes, where we will also put all the links for Sara Lynn and how you can reach her. From your Facebook page, and I guess that's the best way to contact you, or is it your number, or
Facebook, or text me or call me.
Okay.
I have a website also that you can do home searches on my website.
It's handy. Absolutely.
Anything but smoke signals will reach me.
Okay. That's
No smoke.
no smoke signals.
Well, thank you so much. It was a great chat.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me.
All right. Thank you. Bye.